My name is David Delgado, and I'm a second-year graduate student in the Material Science and Engineering Department working for Professor Ken Scholl.
My name is Adam Jacobs. I do 3D printing research here at Northwestern University.
So my name is Amit Behra. I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate in the Department of Material Science and Engineering. I work in the Olson Group.
My name is Xin Wang. I work as a postdoc research fellow in material science and engineering.
My name is James Hedrick. I'm in the Chemical and Biological Engineering Department here at Northwestern, and I'm in the Merkin Lab. And what I do is work on doing nanolithography and new research to help make better nanostructures for an array of applications.
The NUANCE Center is a fantastic place where I can go and really characterize truly what I'm actually looking at. It helps me guide my research in terms of directions to go and interesting phenomena that I can see. It also is a really great place to go and talk about science with the various coordinators and directors.
A lot of the things I make, considering I 3D print things, I need to take a close look at them. One, to look at their microstructure. Two, to look at their, I guess I would call it mesostructure. Three, to make sure it is made of what I think it's made of. So NUANCE lets me do all those things. I can very easily schedule time, go in there, use some of the really nice instruments, and relatively quickly get really all the information I need on all these things I make. The great thing about 3D printing is I can make a lot of samples very quickly. The bad thing about 3D printing is I can make a lot of samples really quickly. So it's one thing to make a sample, it's another thing to characterize. So NUANCE is a great way where I can pretty quickly get in there and characterize things that I need to characterize.
I'm involved with a lot of DNA-mediated nanoparticle assembly projects. SEM is very critical in characterizing our particles. We do use X-rays to see the organization, but without the electron microscope, we won't be able to see the microscopic shape of these crystals. NUANCE Center is really helpful. I can't imagine doing research without this center.
Well, most of my research is based on, is partly on characterization of materials, mostly metallic materials that I work on, and modeling. So characterization work involves mostly using a lot of NUANCE's instruments, ranging from SEM to FIB to EBSD and TEM.
So for my research, I'm doing some correlative study on the endothelial cells. So basically, I use atomic force microscopy to scan the cell surface, and then to test the mechanical property of the cell. And then I want to use scanning electron microscopy or transmission electron microscopy to see the cell fibers underneath the cell membrane. And then I want to correlate this mechanical property, structure, filament to the cellular physiological functions. So I want to do this correlative research across the multi-scale. I use a lot of instruments in the NUANCE centers.
My research benefits from the NUANCE Center because it really helps me visualize what I make on the surface. And a lot of things, when you get really small, just standard optical methods no longer work. And so you have to start using stuff like a scanning electron microscope to be able to visualize what we make. And it really helps us learn a lot about what we're working on.
So nanoscience for the past 2 decades has really provided sort of the frontier of science. As a young researcher, it's very exciting to be working at a place like Northwestern where using NUANCE and other capabilities, I can access the nano world, quote unquote, and really get down and be an engineer, but at an incredibly small scale. You can have extraordinary and exotic phenomena.
Everything from regenerating tissues, from ovary to bone, liver, kidney, to new types of metals and alloys, which may contain nanoparticles actually. The graphene for electronics, which I guess is technically a nanomaterial, but we print it big. I printed Turkish coffee, which is actually nanoparticle size.
So I work with nanoparticles, and I have DNA as a programmable bonds to arrange these particles into nice ordered arrays in a huge crystal. For now, I'm interested in looking at how the energetics of how these nanoparticles assemble, and looking into how the environment affects the DNA bonding thermodynamics to grow larger crystals or observe phase transition of these crystal lattices.
For example, in this is additively manufactured aluminum alloys, and during the solidification, we're trying to look at the different grain sizes and what is the solidification doing to the grain size. So using EBSD, we were able to identify the grains and the distribution of sizes and the morphology of the grains. And that helps us eventually make predictions about the grains and control the eventual properties.
We study these cells. The cells is in the micron scale, but inside the cell, the cytoskeleton framework that is in the nanoscale. So we use atomic force microscopy to test the mechanical property of the cell. That is in the nanometer, nanonewton range. And also we use scanning transmission electron microscopy to see the cell fibers. That is only several nanometers. So definitely that is in the nanoscience.
Everything that I work on has some nano realm. It is patterning nanomaterials on the surface like nanoparticles to do catalysis, as well as making new inks for nanoscale 3D printing. We can learn how to make better reactions to help save millions of dollars in the pharmaceutical industry, oil industry, and energy industry, if you think about it like that. For nanoscale 3D printing, it allows you to be able to make a lot of new materials that you couldn't make before by able to have really fine intricacies at the nanoscale for a bulk material.